Facebook friends. I want to speak with you tonight about coping with grief and loss while in quarantine. Uh, my voice is just as I speak it. I know what could be more taxing than living in isolation away from the support of loved ones and family. My heart goes out to each of you. Many of us have lost a lot during this pandemic. Some of us have lost loved ones to death. They've died. Some of us are losing loved ones inch by inch. The illness and the stark reality that this pandemic is so utterly random, with a very few exceptions, that we could be facing death like most people who have faced death, particularly widows and widowers, can tell us from experience. It's not easy, no matter the circumstances. In this time of complete uncertainty of food supply and when we'll be able to return to our lives and our work, and hugging our families, and having the services for the friends and loved ones and family members who have died. I don't know how that must completely weigh on people grieving the ultimate loss, death. But my heart goes out to you and my prayers go out to you. I happen to be a certified From Heartbreak to Happiness grief coach. And many people with whom I've trained that are very, very able to provide grief coaching at this time. And I'm happy to refer anyone to the very skilled coaches. They have a completely wonderful process by which they can help each of us move towards more empowerment. But the first aspect of grief, of course, is dealing with the shock of things, right? Dealing with the shock maybe of losing our job or getting furloughed. Dealing with the shock of getting the notice, email, the phone call that our family member taken ill. And maybe delivering that person to the hospital and seeing them again. At this point, what we want to do is give hope to situations and people for whom hope is a distant vision, if at all, if they can see the blur. Now, I have a book called My Husband Died, A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery, Smart Financial Decisions. And I'm going to reference a few aspects from the book tonight. I'm going to also give the book to you in PDF form at the end of the presentation so that you can take the nuggets in the book that are helpful to you and or friends and family in hopes that we can make the burden just a little bit lighter. The first instance I want to read is from chapter 1, and it says, "The past is the filter by which we see things now. I invite you to notice and gain an awareness of who you are and where you are right now, as a way of quelling some of the obsession about where you were or where you should." And if I have one message for people, grieving, let's take the shoulds out, completely out of our vocabulary. And of us who are in communication with people who are, that word shouldn't leave our lips. And what once brought you peace may now cut through you like a hot knife. What you once thought you is now whirling seemingly out of your control. What skills you once possessed and took for granted have now gone into temporary hiding. How about that for quarantine? What you once is now laughable. The adder of death no longer grips you. It's how you are forever changed, and now you live differently. So I want to encourage us in dealing with our loss, and those who are dealing with the loss of life of our dear friends, to move from the question of what next to a different question. What's next? Simply by adding an S, we've shifted our focus from helplessness to strategizing our future, however uncertain. Now, for those who haven't experienced the death of someone dear, a lot of people are liken it to having your mind and your heart in a blender. I mean, there is no order. We've known it. So it's incumbent upon all of us to hold people who have lost with the utmost of care, with the utmost of gentleness, and absent judgment. And I repeat, absent judgment. I was speaking with and interviewing a very, very wise man, Dr. Ed Klontz, and he had indicated we shared stories and so forth of working with widowed people and so forth, and suddenly he stopped mid-sentence and he leaned forward towards me, wagging his forefinger. And he asked, "Debra, do you know what people need today?" Well, I've read this man's work and revere his knowledge. My race to find the answer, running the gamut from a job, better communication, more money. Maybe today we'd say toilet paper, right? To sex, etc. And then I replied, "No, I don't know, Dr. Klontz. What do people need today?" And he responded very quietly, "A good listening to." Wow. If we can listen to our grieving brothers and sisters right now, we will have given them a gift that surpasses almost anything else. Now, I wrote in my book because it's so important, a chapter, and it's chapter 3, stupid ass things people say, right? Most of you know me having a sense of humor, but these are so. And the interesting thing that I found as I was studying grief and how to coach through grief is hearing and dealing with stupid ass comments some friends and family members make about your late husband's death may exact a lot of your scant energy and patience. So buck up. I know it's a Ripley's, believe it or not, but you have one more thing yet to do, and that's help your friends deal with their grief. Oh boy. I invite each of us just to think before we blur out. And sometimes words are not the most preferred response. If we're back in a society where we can touch, or we can go onto electronic means and share with people, I'm here virtually, I'm giving you a hug. I have no idea what to say. I can't imagine the pain you must be in. Would you like to talk about it? That was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's famous question. She would walk into the hospital bed, near the bed of a dying person, and say, "Would you like to talk about it?" And if they did, they would talk about their feelings. And if they didn't, they would talk about the weather. Let's us take our cue from that. Let's be present for those who are grieving and respectful when they can't talk about their grief. So inevitably, I want us to hearken back to some of the very, very early lessons that we taught in terms of bonding with each other, especially in times of need. Let's come together as a caring and comforting society. Let's reach across the physical abysses in whatever way we can. Zoom and electronic messages and FaceTime. Let's talk with our people about their departed if incurred a death. Mention their name. Trust me, they haven't forgotten that they've lost their loved one. It's music to their ears to hear their partner's name uttered and to hear you relay a wonderful memory and a story. Now, Dr. David Hawkins made a completely impressive ladder of consciousness. I urge you to look, and he talks about the levels of emotions, and he puts them on a ladder, if you will, with an ascending order. And grief is at the bottom. Sometimes we think, oh my gosh, grief is really at the worst from an emotional standpoint. It's not shame worse than grief, right? But grief is just above shame. And then we move into fear and anger and then courage and then willingness, then acceptance and forgiveness, reason, love, joy, and peace. I know for a grieved person, some of that seems completely out of the realm of possibility. And I also have dealt with a number of people who have survived the loss of their partner. And in time, have shared with me that the worst thing that ever happened to them ended up being the best thing. Why? Because they don't take the little things for granted anymore. They live life like it's not a dress rehearsal. So loss, in whatever form we're feeling it, is able to be moved through. We won't forget about it. We won't get over it. We'll move through it with tenacity, grit, a bucket and ocean of tears. We'll leave the self-judgment behind. Just as soon as it bubbles up, we'll say, that's behind me. What would, and let's name the departed, what would him have me feel right now? What would Sally have me do right now? Let's invoke their presence because it's palpable. There are many, many stories which I know and on my own pulses to be true. So what I'm going to do is invite you to go to the link forwardretirement.com/resources. We'll put it on the Facebook page, and you can get a PDF copy of my book, in which I have chapters called Picking Up Your Emotional Pieces. Grief is sad and normal, stupid ass things people say. The sixth no decision zone. Emotionally emoting fully in safe places. I need a good listening to. Angel verses, holidays, and sex. What to do with his stuff. Unwinding emotions and money. Important notifications to make. Why a fee-only certified financial planner is essential. Organizing your finances. Surprises. Potential income sources, and the like. You see, as a certified financial planner and a certified grief coach, I have basically put about half of the content as financial planner information, financial pitfalls to avoid, in the widow tax. That's chapter 19. Why the widow tax? Financial disaster to avoid, Unfortunately, some stories in the book, all the stories are true, of people that I basically then dealt with after these horrific abuses had happened. So in reading it now, you can prepare yourself, and you have this book on your shelf or for the next person who suffers a loss, certainly a death for sure. I've had married couples ask me to book and I've invited them to do so, and they say, because I want to be prepared, and that's probably right. So it's an awful lot of content in the book, and I welcome you to take advantage of this free offer. And in the back, there are indexes, and then there are links on various helps and support groups and so forth that you can touch base with. And we need support, and in isolation and in quarantine, like never needed support before. If you haven't the loss of a person, but another loss or the loss of a failing health, these principles do cross over these boundaries for sure. I give to you my assurance that there will be a brighter future. And I'll read from the first portion of my book, a quote from Jeannie Hund. It was on a personal greeting card. And she writes, and I quote, "I'll bet you've had enough of people how strong you are, great you're doing during this awful period of life. All I can is that you ask for what you need, lean on those who love you, and try to trust me when I say, come out the other side." If you found it, share it, because it may be a lifeline to someone in grief right now. If you have questions, if you need to be in touch with a certified grief coach, please email me. Please get in touch, and we'll get those connections made in a way that gives you life. Don't know what your next step and your next chapter will be. You probably don't know it quite yet yourself. But I invite you to use all the creativity within yourself. Draw on that from the person who you've lost to death, and bring these resources together along with the support of your loving friends to take the next steps forward. And talk again. God bless, and our prayers are with you. We're holding you in the most comforting space possible in this era of quarantine. May it end soon. May you be reunited and physically be able to touch and caress those who you love and who love you